How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to my podcast, Scared Shitless, where I watch horror films and to scare myself intentionally, and where I do a review of this one. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about Interview with a Vampire, which is quite funny that I found this in the horror section at JB Hi-Fi. And you look at it and you think, why is this horror? It's like vampires. It wasn't really that scary. It's like a drama, a fucking gothic drama, bro. That I was spending and I was just watching it. And this movie is based on a novel by Anne Rice. And what I like about it so far about Anne Rice is that it wasn't the typical vampire lore bullshit that you saw. I know there's a bit of female West Nosferatu, the 1922 silent film, 1922, not 1927. Anyway, she took this concept of being a vampire, and basically it's the whole film. One of the big themes that I noticed was about vegetarianism or veganism, which are crazy motherfuckers. You know, this whole thing that meat is murder. Well, I shouldn't eat meat, and this other character is all into it. Is all, yes, we need to eat meat to survive. And basically, that the whole film takes place between Louis and Lestat. The very first shot is the reason why it gets called an Interview with a Vampire was that you start back in the modern day, current year. Well, this movie, for some reason, I don't know why, I thought this movie was made in the 80s, but it was actually made in 1994. And the film starts out with Louis basically getting an interview by a journalist. And it's just told through a series of flashbacks. So he went back to the 200s and that, and where Louis himself was 28 years old. He was a plantation owner. And basically just lost his wife and lost his kid and just threw in this dark depression. And he met this, and Louis is played by Brad Pitt, and Lestat is played by Tom Cruise. And I suppose I just got to say that Tom Cruise can act. He's actually not that bad of an actor. Because Louis is more reserved, and that's where you get the whole thing that basically met Lestat, and Lestat turned Louis into a vampire. But Lestat embraces being a vampire. He absolutely loves it. It's just who he is and what does he do. And he has no qualms of killing humans to suck their blood, like kind of like how we farm cows and goats, and to kill an animal and cut them up into pieces and put it on the barbie, mate, on a barbecue and that. And Louis spends the whole time having trouble of the whole morality of being a vampire, because he was saying that murdering another human being is wrong. Well, Lestat was like I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter, like, because we need to do that to survive. And I thought that was very interesting, that the whole the vegetarianism, especially with, and suppose that also that Lestat is like an influencer. Imagine that, an influencer saying that you should become a vampire. Hey, it's great. You get to live forever. You get to see society changes all the time. It's great. And just imagine that, as Einstein said himself, the eighth wonder of compounding interest. So just imagine if you live forever and ever and ever, that the amount of money that you would have if you lived it in a bank and live conservatively, like Dave Ramsey always talks about, like, you know, you should invest. And see, Louis overthinks a lot of things. He overthinks it. He just doesn't embrace. He's just always questioning about being a vampire. And I just think that, especially that Louis is fucking depressed because, well, he lost his missus and his kid. Like, he's grieving, and he thought that I need to escape from this grief instead of just embracing the grief and just let it sit there for a while and go, well, trying to function in that. He just met this Lestat who's like very charismatic, who embraces to be a vampire. He's like, yeah, bro, fucking meat all the way. Yeah, fucking barbecue. Doesn't have a problem of killing humans to survive, to suck their blood to survive. And especially with one of the scenes that they were there with this woman, and then had this like some sort of fairness in there and sucking her, and Lestat's like, she's dead. And especially one of the key scenes that really highlighted that you could sort of tell the difference between the two characters, this Lestat who's a meat eater and Louis who's a vegetarian, is that they had these couple of whores, and Lestat kills one of them and just like, yeah, just starts sucking the blood and just like freaking out. And there's this other whore's like, what the fuck's going on? Like, yeah, sucking blood and that. Lestat's like, yeah, kill her. I know you want it. I know that you need it. Yeah, kind of like peer pressuring Louis. You want to. And Louis like, no, I can't do this. No, I don't want to. And Lestat's like, this is who you are because you're a vampire and that. And this woman is just pleading for her life. And at the end, Lestat fucking just like, yep, kill her. And Louis ran away, and then Lestat followed him. And Lestat was like, Louis used to say, eating fucking, sucking the blood from rabbits and mice and that. And I just thought that that's a wonderful fucking metaphor, and especially with this it's totally different from all the other vampire lore, that you have these two characters that have opposing views. One's more about Louis, I can't kill humans, and the other one, Lestat's like, yep. I suppose this is how I can relate to more like Louis, because it's like, especially that I want to be a full-time content creator. But then again, and see, the thing is that I kind of overthink things and complicated. Fuck me. It's fucking 4 a.m. when I record this. Complicated a lot of things in my life. And I suppose that, yeah, you look at other people and it's like, oh man, they got it all figured out. They had it going on, eh? But then again, I don't know if I want to be a full-time content creator or a YouTuber or a podcaster, because it's like the top 0.1% make enough money to make a full-time living. but a lot of influencers are broke these days. And I suppose getting older. And because, like, I'm going to be turning, well, I'm 40 years old, mate. So imagine that. And just imagine getting bitten at 40 years old. You're always going to be stuck like the 40 years old. Because there's this other little girl called Claudia, where Louis was sort of end up meeting her, and her mother got passed away from tuberculosis, and she's there upset and saw Louis, and she's like, "Oh, mister, my mum's dead," this little girl that wants comfort, and next minute she got bitten by Louis because he gave in of the temptation. And so Claudia will be always that little girl, that little 12-year-old girl. And Lestat sort of, oh my God, I just realized, dude, that it's a little bit of pedophilia in there, is that Lestat sort of grooms Claudia to how to be a vampire. But then again, that Louis sort of became like a father to her because, like, she slept in her own coffin for a while, but she ended up sleeping with Louis. I mean, together, not having sex, or more like a father. Like, Louis became like Claudia's father in a way, like they had two dads, and they're trying to get away from Lestat, so they decided to fucking plot a thing to kill Lestat. But he ended up coming back alive and that, and because they dumped his body in a swamp, and he's like, "Oh yeah, yuck." But it's like that she saw a woman there naked and says, "Oh, well, I can't have that because I'm not going to get old. How dare you fucking do this to me?" And this is cruel. And space is another metaphor of it, that with Claudia, that, that sometimes you do get stuck in life. Doing the same things over and over again. But you know that you want something different, but you can't help it. You can't, help it. And this is like the true horror of it all, that you can't, because it's like you're just outgrown, especially with Claudia, that she can't change, and a lot of people feel like that they can't change, they can't do anything different because this is who I know, this is what life is gonna be. That we can't fucking do anything different. People make me like this. And suppose I have outgrown relationships with my mates too. I sort of, well, I don't know if I want a different job or not, because like at the end of the day, honestly, I'm comfortable. But then again, that I'm knowing that I'm so much better than that. And I just want to be one day I want to be a filmmaker. That's always a dream of mine, but it's hard when you live in a regional area. And honestly, that I'm scared to move because, like, I don't want to sell out my unit that I'm paying for to pay for something more expensive in a capital city. But then again, with the capital cities in Australia, that's where the population is. So it's like I'm kind of like Claudia in a way that I've been living here in my life, and I kind of feel trapped that this is my life forever. But I'm talking about figuratively here, that I'm not stuck, that I can change. But literally, Claudia is like that because she got turned to a vampire when she's 12 years old. And that will totally suck. Anyway, Louis and Claudia got away from Lestat and they went over to France to see some other vampires. And they found out that Claudia killed Lestat. He isn't really dead because he's a fucking vampire, mate. And they burn her. Anyway, the journalists missed the whole entire point because the journalist is thinking, wow, I want to be a vampire because I can live forever. But Louis spent the whole movie explaining how miserable he is. He wants to turn into a vampire, and he was like, no, don't do it because... And the journalist is played by Christian Slater. And he thought, this is cool. Why don't you tell me? And I was like, mate, have you been fucking listening? No. And that's what a lot of people's like. It's like I watch these YouTube videos, right, about how content creators get broke. Or that influencers are going back to the corporate world and they do videos where TikToks or Instagram going, oh, yeah, I was an influencer for 4 years and now I got myself a 9-to-5 job. And that in a way that you think, in spite of this modern, in 2026, you think, oh, this is what I want to do because you see all these other YouTubers are making full-time, are doing it full-time and making videos, and you think it's cool that I get to be about my own boss and that. But also, knowing the facts of that you still got bills to pay and it just ended up becoming another fucking job. And that's what the journalist, Christian Slater, journalist in an interview with a vampire in this film, was like thinking about, oh, I could get to live forever. I don't have to die. I don't have to get sick. I don't have to, I could experience all this life. But then again, that I don't know if this movie explains about imagine living forever, how bored you would be. How boring life could be, because in the film that Louis talks about from the 1700, and one of the things he's like, mentions in the film, it's like, yeah, it turns out that we're all Americans now. Because you will just get to see how much things have changed, and it just becomes another meh, seen it all before. I saw this fucking happening. That it's not, it's all cracked up to be. And that's the thing that you gotta be like, that you don't know if you experience yourself. And suppose another thing that, imagine if I didn't make it, that as a full-time YouTuber, what if I end up hating it? What if I'm thinking, oh, fuck, it's another job? What if it's, I gotta make another video, all the stress of it. Like, I gotta fucking make a video because if I don't, then the algorithm's gonna hate me and fucking I won't be able to eat. So I just think that the stress just changes because, like, at the moment, I do have a full-time job. And obviously that I'm doing this content creation on the side as a bit of a hobby at the moment because I'm not getting paid. But I'm not getting paid for it, but but it's like my full-time job pays the bills. So, and there's the stress of it that, fuck, you have to get up, and then sometimes that you be in situations like it'd be stressful that you have to do this big job and that you don't really want to. But then again, that's life. and a little bit of stress in that. So, yeah, these are. This is why I totally recommend watch Interview with a Vampire. It was a really good film. I absolutely enjoy it. It's totally different from all the other vampire things, which I actually do appreciate it. And, not the same old, whatever. All the other vampires. And it just talks about the realities of it. Anyway, please subscribe or follow this podcast. Give this podcast a like. And leave any horror movies that you guys recommend that I should check out and watch. And and the next one, I'm going to talk about Don't Breathe.